Now for our first panel, I'm pleased to introduce retired Fleet Master Chief and good friend Suz Whitman as she discusses spouse pride and professionalism. Suz, Fleet, over to you.
All right, thanks, McPond Stevens. I appreciate the introduction, and it's great seeing you, brother. I too want to start off by thanking Navy Services FamilyLine's core program in partnership with the Navy League of Hampton Roads, and also Fleet Forces Command, who has also worked tirelessly behind the scenes for ensuring this very important annual conference continues. Do know that I am honored and humbled to be Zooming. I like to use the word Zooming with you today. Secondly, I would like to congratulate you for your spouses, significant other, friend, or family member for achieving this huge career milestone, especially for 2020. I always say to the service member, thank you for your service. And to you, the spouse, thank you for your sacrifice. For those of you who do not know me, I go by Suz. I am a sailor, a chief petty officer, a Navy mom, and a spouse of a former Marine. I will be covering with you today Pride and Professionalism and weave in some awesome information for you as the chief spouse. Let's begin with a couple of definitions. Pride. It's the feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements or achievements of those whom one is closely associated. Professionalism, that is conduct, behavior, and your attitudes. And last but not least, here are some characteristics of professionalism. Competent, confident, but not cocky, maintain poise even when facing adversity, treat everyone with dignity and respect, be honest, be ethical, be timely, be kind, be loyal, and be humble. And always, always maintain a positive attitude. Now, let's talk a little bit about what your chief is going through and what it means. Up to now, think about it. Your chief select had a chief to go to anytime, any place to ask them any question. So now they're becoming the chief petty officer. And what does that mean to them? They are expected to be the expert with dealing with Navy life, sailors, technical experts, mentors, administrators, organizers, teachers, the hard one, which is time managers, and disciplinarians. It is no longer about themselves, but about everything and everyone else. This is a total mind shift for them. So what is on their mind? Increase operational tempo, certifications, deployment, yard period, and just the constant change. And that is only to name a few. They're responsible for personally and professionally developing sailors, and yes, that includes officers. They have a heightened sense of responsibility, trust, and accountability, which they've never had at this level before. They are the guardians of heritage and traditions and the backbone of the Navy. But most importantly, they want to be accepted into the chief's mess. And this is only a few things going on in their minds. So what is the origin of the chief petty officer? Well, the term was first used in 1 June of 1776. We celebrate the chief's birthday on 1 April 1893. That was the first time we celebrated our birthday. The pay grade was established 11 April 1893. In 1959, the fouled anchor became an official part of the uniform as collar devices. Now, here's a hint. If your chief is putting his or her khakis on at the house, ensure that those anchors are on their collar devices are on, because the most seasoned of us forget them. Hey, CPO pay was $128 a month until 1 June of 1942, and CPO pay increased to $138 on 16 June 1942. You'll be hearing from CMC Toby Ruiz a little bit later, and I am sure that he will tell you your pay, the paycheck in your chief's check is more than $138 a month. Now, the fouled anchor. It is the emblem of the Chief Petty Officer. Attached to the anchor is a length of chain with the letters USN. The U stands for unity, the S is service, and the N is navigation. The chain is symbolic of flexibility, and it reminds us of the chain of life that we forge day by day, link by link. May it continually be forged with honor, courage, and commitment. The anchor, well, that's emblematic of hope and what must be kept steadfast in faith and encouraged to abide in our prayers amidst the storm of temptation, affliction, and persecution. Now let's talk about our hallowed cloth, the khakis. We are the only service that changes our uniform to transition from E6 to Chief Petty Officer, and that includes our cover. Your chief is now on a new level, and you too as the chief's spouse. This cloth means everything to your chief, and I can only explain in my words. After donning the khakis and being pinned to Chief Petty Officer, the pride was so overwhelming, I felt reborn again. I now have a brotherhood and a sisterhood who could be counted on no matter what, anytime, any day. That day I promised myself to never let the mess down, the mess at large, and those chiefs that came before me. My motto was Navy Chief, Navy Pride, to the day I die. I hope these words make you understand how much being a Chief Petty Officer means. Now, this crazy 6-week thing that we're going to go to is initiation. I know you all cannot wait till initiation is over with. Understand that the process is well defined, it is a pre-approved plan, and it is the practical application of exercising a day in the life of a Chief Petty Officer. This process takes the finest first-class petty officers and through developing, training, guiding, testing, brings them into the chief's mess. Initiation is only a source of renewal is also a source of renewal for the chief's mess. 6 weeks of trials for a lifetime of anchors. Please be supportive and you will both get through this together. Now, the CPO mess. CPO mess can stand for two things. It can stand for our family and it also can stand for a space. So the CPO mess as a family, as I said earlier, we are a brotherhood and a sisterhood. The command CPO mess, you also have a CPO mess at large, which is the chiefs of the Navy, and also the retired Chief Petty Officer mess. Also, to reiterate, the chief's mess is a family. The Chief Petty Officer mess can also be a space, and it is a sacred space. It is a meeting place where we can talk about command mission, sailors, and personnel, and talk about personal attributes. It's a place to build cohesion, voice our disagreement, provide mentorship between us, place to grab a great cup of coffee, and also grab a moment to stop and collect our thoughts. Now, on to you as the CPO spouse. There is no requirement of professionalism for you, the spouse. However, you must understand that your behavior can impact the professional reputation of your chief. There is no visible rank. You are the natural role model for others coping with challenge of military life by drawing from your own experiences. The opportunity to encourage and support other Navy families. What a great privilege you have. Publicly, you support the command's policies and the Navy's policies. You can volunteer within the military community, provide guidance and support to your fellow spouses. Be approachable, be yourself, but most importantly, you are now a role model. I'm going to weave in a couple sea stories. The first one is the not so good sea story dealing with a chief spouse, and it basically impacted his career and reputation. So while on deployment, one of my sailors received an email from their spouse. The email stated that his daughter had 6 months to live and the sailor's spouse wanted him home ASAP. The sailor did not want to go home and he wanted to complete the rest of the deployment, which was about a month and a half that was left. He did not want to leave also because the ship would be undermanned. We told him that the manning shortfall was for the command to worry about, and we appreciated him thinking about it. We told him that his family came first. So just so we are clear, the chief's rating at this time was top secret clearance, held a top secret clearance. Finally, the chain of command convinced the sailor that he would be better off focusing on his family and setting up daughter's arrangements. We also discussed with him that there was no way that he could possibly focus on the ship's mission at hand and possibly become a liability. The chief departed the ship and his chain of command received an email 1 week before we returned to home port. The email read, "I am so sorry. My wife lied. My daughter does not have a life-threatening medical condition, and my wife spent over $70,000, and I cannot for the life of me find out what she spent it on." So take one moment and think what just happened. She put the family in financial hardship. The chief had his top secret clearance pulled due to indebtedness. His clearance was never adjudicated and he had to retire at 20 years. This is an example of a spouse's behavior, how it impacts the career and also the reputation of that chief. Now, on to the good news story. A CPO spouse contacted the command ombudsman with questions, concerns, and asking for guidance with regards to a situation where of a sailor on board. The command ombudsman contacted the ship's CMC and proceeded to have a conversation with regards to the sailor on board having a very hard time adjusting to deployment. He also was in a very dark place, not knowing where to turn. By the spouse contacting the ombudsman was able to help her sailor by getting the help he needed. They sent him to the chaplain and was able to find his way out of this dark place, move forward, and completed the deployment. So a breakdown of this is that the spouse is spouse supporting spouses. By the spouse of the sailor noticing something was wrong, she contacted the CPO spouse, who in turn interpreted whether the situation required action. And it did. And that CPO spouse contacted the command ombudsman to intervene. And by chaps, the command having chaps talk to this sailor, the sailor ended up having an awesome deployment. Now, here are some of Suz's recommendations. Get involved. As a CPO spouse, please get involved. This will allow you to build a network and understand what is going on not only with the command, but possibly what's going on in the Navy. Please do not wear your spouse's ring, not their rank. I know that's kind of harsh, but please understand, wear your spouse's ring and not their rank. Never have that I have arrived or we have arrived attitude, because it can lead to a sense of superiority, and that basically can turn others off. Be humble, be honored, and also it is a great opportunity for you to lead as being a Chief Petty Officer spouse. Support your spouse, keep an eye out on those anchors like I said earlier. Expect the unexpected. The question I will ask is, how will you react? Making chief is a big accomplishment for your spouse and your family. Treat it as such and be proud of them. You are never alone, and you have so many other people, spouses, to reach out to. And I also say reach out to your command ombudsman. Now I have a few questions. This question is from Darlene in Bremerton, Washington, and asks, what are the expectations of a chief spouse? Well, thank you, Darlene. I appreciate the question. Encouragement and support Navy families. Provide guidance and support to your fellow spouses, and also understand that you are a role model. Now on to Chelsea. She is in Kinston, North Carolina, and she asks, what are the future events, and how do I dress? How do I become involved? And how do I support spouses? Thank you, Chelsea. First, the event. I'm going to cover the khaki ball. The khaki ball can be either in business formal, semi-formal, or cocktail event. So please ask your chief, what type of event is it? For business formal, the women wear a business style dress with an option for jacket or a pantsuit or pumps. Men, you wear a dark colored business suit with dress shirt and tie and dark socks and dark shoes. So for the semi-formal, women wear a knee-length dress or separates. This is an excellent opportunity to wear a classic black dress. You cannot go wrong. Men, you can wear darker colored business suit, dress shirt and tie, dark socks and dark shoes. Now for the cocktail. Women can wear a knee-length skirt or semi-formal pants and blouse, or a classic cocktail dress. Men, you may opt for a dark color, dark pants with a dress shirt or sports jacket or coat. Bottom line, you never ever want to be underdressed. For the rest of the social events and attire, I ask that you see pages 17 through 19 in your guidelines for the spouse of Chief Petty Officers. It is a great tool to hold on to. For the second part of the question, being involved and supporting your spouse, I just say be beside your spouse at any chance possible. And that will show that you are all in, that you are involved, and completely support your spouse and the command. Also remember, the Command Ombudsman is the official liaison for commands and families. Your ombudsman is the appropriate resource for information and also can help with volunteering. Now, my last question is from Brenda in Meadowview, Virginia. And she asks, I would like to better understand my role and expectations of the chief's spouse. Thank you for your question, Brenda. You will be the natural role model for others coping with challenges of military life by drawing from your own experiences. Understand that your behavior can impact the professional reputation of your chief, and that can be positively or negatively. And also be approachable. Support your chief and support your command. Your efforts in helping others is genuinely appreciated by your spouse's chain of command, the organization's administrators, and the people that you reach. Your involvement can nurture a positive command climate and contribute to a better quality of life for others, which is totally rewarding. Thank you again, and now back to MCPON.
Thank you, Suz. Well done, as expected.